English translation, 177th contact. Sunday, 19th of September, 1982. AO3, 48 hours.
At least today, you should be asleep at this time because already at 8:15 hours this morning, together, we will begin your first journey to Era. Hence, your urgent call to me really should be justified.
That is very well the case, because for the time being, and until the 4th of October, I cannot even make any decisions.
At present, nothing can be so important that you can rob yourself of your sleep, of which you have an urgent need.
As you wish, then you can go again, and I can lie down on the ear.
You are illogical, for if I am now already here, then we also want to discuss the things, on account of which you called me so urgently.
Good, it concerns Ferdinand.
Yet another time. What is it then today?
He complained to me sometime after midnight that he has already been away from home since last Friday night, and that nobody looks after his animals. For this reason, he made an arrangement with Silvano, who has agreed to take over Ferdinand's Sunday service, until Ferdinand, is back again, because he wanted to drive home in order to feed the animals, etc., that are on the open pasture.
Ferdinand knows very well that he is not entitled to make any arrangements of this kind and to make duty plan changes, for such actions usually fall solely within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors. Nevertheless, at the present time, even the Board of Directors has no word to give, but I alone, and this until the 4th of October.
Thus, one probably thinks that I could give a word of consent in this regard.
To which you are also not entitled, however, up to the 4th of October.
I know.
Good. Then now explain to me the immediate context.
Ferdinand said that a woman who, so far, had kept and fed the animals for him each time over the weekend, lately will not perform this work any more, for she had been at Ferdinand's old residence and had made inquiries there into the Pfeifenberger family and so on. This, then, has led to the fact that the woman has been missing, and now no longer works for Ferdinand. In particular, the reason for this is that the woman had found out that each weekend, Ingrid and Ferdinand drive to us, to Figu, and we are practically designated as a sect. Furthermore, Ferdinand said that the Social Security had been with him in order to take an inventory of his agriculture, whereby it was noted and complained of by this assurance that Ferdinand's agricultural work and its income were never sufficient in order to acquire the necessary finances and food for his family. From this, he was then asked, according to his words, if he had the necessary finances in order to support his family and livelihood. Through a lie, he talked himself out of this, saying that right now he still has savings, on which he and his family can live. But in my opinion, that is a lie that will probably have very short legs, if he is right in what he says. Last of all, so he complained, the Raiffeisen Bank in his old place of residence also made inquiries into him when he petitioned for a larger loan, which he then obviously received nevertheless, whereby he plunged into debt. Finally, he still complains in each case about what all of the trips to the center would cost him and what amounts he spends toward Figu, etc.
I must confess to you that it was right that you called me. This time, I would like to exercise some leniency toward Ferdinand once again, and will not charge him with the offense against the ordinal rules, which he has committed arbitrarily and with the assistance of Silvano. So I grant him this time for the round trip and for the accomplishment of his animal work, together with Silvano. But at 10:08 hours, he has to be back at the center again and has to fulfill his Sunday duty. Furthermore, I now point out that you and I, prior to his departure from the old home, have made him aware of the fact that for the time being he should look for a place and look for a regular job near the Swiss border in Austria. Through you, I already explained to him that his animal property should be dissolved and that he should be active in a regular job in the new place of residence for which he merits as an employee, At the same time, he should only keep, at most, so many animals that he would not be bound by these on the weekends, whereby he would be free for the center. But Ferdinand did not follow this advice, and not in the least. Ingrid also contributed a lot to this in her illogic.
I know this. On the other hand, I also told Ferdinand and Ingrid that in any case, their agriculture never yields so much that they could see a regular monthly income from it, which is why it would also be appropriate in this respect that somewhere outside, Ferdinand would look into a regular job as an employee, while Ingrid could perform some incidental work on the farm during the day, after which Ferdinand would then still have to do the rest in the evening after his working outside, as this is ordinarily the case and is handled in such a manner on such smaller farms.
That is of correctness, but in addition to Ferdinand, Ingrid is also a very important driving factor for why this logical course of action is not taken. She is not willing to do the necessary work and to cooperate considerably. Her sense lies much more in being idle, and in her wishes to dress herself with very expensive clothing and to show herself off as being better. Really compulsory work does not lie with her, and particularly at the present time of her pregnancy, she is opposed to this even more than ever. So her child Melanie and her husband have to do her work, which has by no means escaped me. Another factor of Ferdinand's work that would be necessary in order to achieve a regular income, if he actually carried out a regular work outside, is that Ingrid herself, just like Ferdinand, is not willing to accept this most natural and common solution on earth because both are subject to the crazy notion that only as freelancers are they free enough, etc.
That's right. Ferdinand spoke of this and many other things this night, but I find all of these to be illogical and to be worthless excuses.
That is of correctness. These evasive speeches and illogical manner of thinking of the two are familiar to me. Likewise, I am well aware that they always complain to you and the group members about the fact that they have it particularly hard and that they are unfairly dealt with and treated, and that other group members are not measured with the same yardstick. But such talk, as I must explain, already corresponds to vicious slander, which likewise corresponds to a breach of statute. But I still want to be lenient in this respect, as also with regard to the other things of a faulty nature. However, if everything does not change in regards to these concerns within a decisive time, then I will have to order an exclusion for the two. Furthermore, all this leads to the fact that we now enforce the former advice given to Ferdinand and Ingrid as a regulation and demand, so that Ferdinand is engaged in a regulated and regular work outside as an employee, while Ingrid learns to work at home. By the 4th of October 1982, I want to have a written statement issued by an employer firm, which states that from the date of the 4th of October 1982, Ferdinand takes up such an activity all day and during all work days of all subsequent months. Furthermore, the board of directors also has to inspect each month as to whether Ferdinand performs this activity, on the basis of a written pay slip, which is given to Ferdinand in each case by his employer, and which is delivered by him to the FIGU Board of Directors for inspection. This is so arranged because FIGU cannot afford any members who do not allow order and sense of duty also to be exercised in their private lives, because it would offend against the statutes, the morale and the task of FIGU itself, as well as against the mission. The core group of FIGU has to be an elite, and this elite can only be developed and be brought into existence if the statutes are also followed on a private basis, and if each group member acts dutifully in every situation as a matter of course. However, if Ingrid and Ferdinand do not agree with our determination and do not have the written statement mentioned by me by the 4th of October 1982 at the latest, then an immediate and irrevocable exclusion will likewise take place, just as, if he delivers this statement, but it should turn out with the monthly inspections that he is not complying with our decrees. A single violation of this kind is sufficient for an immediate and irrevocable exclusion to take place.
There, I can hear a few things from both of them again. Anyhow, there is still another problem, namely because of the birth of Ingrid's child. Ingrid wants it to be that the child is born in the center.
There can be no question of that because, on the one hand, our determinations remain in existence with regard to the 2-year limit towards probation, which was agreed on by the core group, and on the other hand, the two of them, by having a child, have committed an error, which was contrary to all of my orders, and which came into being through pure sexual lust and lack of logic. The fact that Ferdinand witnessed another child with Ingrid was alone, against all reason because their precarious situation in many areas, such as moving abroad, sale of property, admittance of work, etc., also did not allow for a further and fourth child at this stage, as well as not all the things of which we expected otherwise for the future. Still, we are willing to think about this future and to fulfill it if the opportunity is given to us by Ingrid and Ferdinand. But it would mean that now, the two finally include themselves in all of the provisions that we have issued and released. And above all, that also in the future they both obey the statutes, faithful to what is written and given, without any further serious breaches.
The two will not be delighted to hear all this.
Nevertheless, they have to take note of this and accept it. But now, my friend, you should go in order to give yourself some more rest. The time will quickly pass and it will be 8:15 Tarars. The following 3 days will be very strenuous. Therefore, no longer allow yourself a dispute with Ingrid and Ferdinand, but merely explain the essentials, so that Ferdinand, with Silvano, can proceed towards settling the work. You can then explain the rest of the concerns to them upon your return.
Good. But just one favor, my friend. In each case, when you are in my office at night and are rumbling around, then I do not mind if you adjust the radio station for me each time. But that you simply leave the couch a mess and let the chairs stand all over the place, I do not think this is very polite, and it does not correspond to your concept of tidiness.
I ask you to excuse this, for such happens unintentionally in each case. Occasionally, the swinging waves of group members who are carrying out the watch urge us in each case to remove ourselves very quickly when they arrive in close or near proximity of your workroom. Thus, we must then leave the area hastily, whereby we can no longer produce the necessary order.
Then I would have said nothing, and simply resigned myself to the fact that I have to clean up quite often.
I am grateful for your understanding, but now you should go to bed. Until we meet again, at 8:15 HRs.
Take care.